Hello everyone, and welcome to Homestead Where You Are. We had some people over for Easter, just a few family members. We don't have small kids, so we didn't have, Easter egg hunts or any of that kind of thing. And I had 2 turkeys in my freezer that I needed to get out. So I decided to cook them both, and I cooked them 2 different ways. And we had turkey sandwiches on Sunday, and then I took all of my the carcass and the neck and all of that stuff, and I put it all in my roaster here, and I've been slow cooking it on about 200 for about 24 hours or so. And then my turkey, what we had left over, I had one container that had the smaller turkey was cooked with barbecue seasoning and things like that, so I had it separate. And then the second turkey was cooked somewhat traditional, just garlic pepper seasoning and that type of thing. But it was a 20-something pound turkey, and so I separated the white meat from the dark meat when I was cutting it up and putting it in the pan. And so today I am going to can all of the turkey that was left over, and if there's any broth when I'm done doing the turkey, then I will also can some broth for us to have on the shelf. So I kind of wanted to show you the process I use from start to finish. This is the way that I do it every time. It's worked like a charm. Every year I do the turkey, and I can the leftover meat, and I can up the broth. So let's get started. Okay, first things first, I had this container. I had it sitting down in some warm water just so that the glass wouldn't get shocked and shatter on me. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take out some of these bigger bones, put them in this bowl here. And yes, there's meat and stuff in here too. There's a lot of fat, but there is probably more meat than you would realize that comes off of the back and the legs and such. I mainly just want to get most of the bigger stuff so that it's out of my way. Alright, I know there's still more in there, but that's good enough for now. So I'm going to set this aside. Alright, now I'm going to scoop out this broth, and I'm going to run it through this strainer. And I have to go into this container first, only because the mouth is too small on this one. Alright, I'm going to pour this in here. Then what happens is the bits and pieces and stuff and sediment and whatever all settles to the bottom of this jar, and then most of the fat will settle at the top of the jar. And I use the spout to fill my jars with the broth and leaving that stuff behind. I am one of those that I like my broth to be pretty, nice and clear. I want it to look like it came from the grocery store, but tastes like homemade. So I'm going to go ahead and put some more of this in here, because after this settles, it doesn't really take all that long, but after it settles some, I will be using some of it in canning the turkey. And then I'll pour some more in there. It doesn't have to be quite as pretty for the turkey because it's just going to get bits and pieces of turkey in it anyway. But when I get down to doing just the broth, I want it to be nice and clear. Go ahead and turn this off. And see, you can already see it, the fat starting to settle up here at the top. Like I said, it doesn't take very long. Okay, so this first container that I have is the turkey white meat. And I have had my jars simmering in the water bath pot over here for a little while. They're not boiling anything. They're actually not even really simmering. I just wanted them to be nice and warm. You know, I'm just doing mine in pint jars. Most of the time that's all I ever need. Figure if I need more than that, I'll just open up two. So now I am going to, these are in the slices that we used for our sandwiches. And I'm just going to stuff these down in here. This is all going to, you know, break apart. It'll become more like a shredded chicken, which is okay. See, this still has some of the gelled broth, but that's okay, it's just flavor. Stuff that in there. I try to leave about an inch or so of headspace. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fill my jars. Uh-oh. Okay, so I'm not really sure what happened, but the spout broke on the other jar that I was using, so I'll have to get a new one. So in the meantime, I poured everything into one of my crocks, and I'll just use this, and I'll have to clean it out real good. So anyway, now I'm going to fill this with broth all the way up to the about 1 inch. Okay, so now I'm going to debubble a little bit, get some of the air pockets out of there. Sometimes when you do that, the liquid level goes down a little bit because it's filling in those air pockets. So you might have to add just a little more. Alright, and this is vinegar that I have in this little jar. I'm going to use a paper towel, wipe these down. And I'm going to add my lids. Rings. I'm going to go ahead and set these down in my canner until I'm ready. Alright, now on the rest of these, I'm going to do a mix of white and dark meat. Alright, now I almost forgot I was doing something with these. I'm going to kind of divide this up and make more room in these jars, and you'll see why in just a minute. Alright, my husband You've heard me say several times that I work, and I actually work evenings. So a lot of times he's trying to figure out something to eat. And he loves to have chicken or turkey with gravy over like mashed potatoes or, you know, all sorts of different ways. So I am going to make basically a gravy to go in these jars, so that way all he has to do is heat them up and they're ready to go. So I have the Cook Type clear gel. Now I couldn't find any approved, you know, safe canning, whatever methods for doing this, but if you can with this clear gel for pie filling, then obviously you can with it for gravy. And I've done this many times. I do it with like beef stew and stuff like that, and it works wonderful. So I'm just going to put in a couple of tablespoons of this clear gel, and mixed in with a little bit of cold water. And I'm going to finish it off with our broth. Make sure that's mixed well. And I'm going to fill the jars. I don't want to mix up any more of that because I don't want it to get too thick. So I'll use just a little bit of broth to finish it off. Alright, now I'm going to use my debubbler. Liquid level has gone down on some of these because I filled in those air gaps. Alright, now we're going to use the vinegar again. Clean off these rims because I know I got lots of chicken bits and fat and stuff on these rims. Alright, now lids and rims. Down. And again, remember, finger tight, don't crank them. Probably looks like I'm going a little tighter than some people do, but I have arthritis, so when I'm doing that, it's really not very tight. Set these in the canner. Move on to the next one. This is the one that I was telling you guys was cooked in the barbecue seasoning, so you can tell by the color. So I'm going to put these in here, and I'm just going to use a pair of scissors and cut these into pieces. And on this one, I want to make sure that I put in plenty this gel that's in here. So that was the juice, barbecue seasoning. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and top these off with broth. Bubble. Here's our vinegar again. Clean off these rims. I was smart enough to use the funnel with these because of that gelatinous juice, broth, whatever you want to call it. Alright, so in this canner, I can double stack pints. It's not big enough for me to double stack quarts, but I can do pints. So, put these in here. Alright, so even though this may only be a few minutes on video, by the time it's all edited out and everything, it's actually been a few hours. So this broth has been sitting here for a few hours, separating with the fat on top and the sediment going to the bottom. So now I'm going to go ahead and fill however many pint jars I can fill to fit in my canner for now. And then I'll fill the rest of them, and I'll probably have to run another load later. I don't know how well you can see that, but you really can't see any fat or food particles in this because I let it sit there and separate. Alright, that is going to be it for this canner full. Alright, and I already had my 2 inches of water in the bottom of the canner. It's already on, so I'm going to turn it up now. About medium on mine, and I'm going to wait for this to start venting. And I will see you guys back in a few minutes. Alright, I wanted to go ahead and show you guys. I was going ahead and filling the rest of my jars with the broth. And I got these 5 done. And when I got to this one, start putting it in here. I'll show you. Now, I don't know if you guys can see that, but you can see the fat at the top, and you can see particles floating around. This is where I stop at this point. Now there's some broth in there that can be used for some things. I might throw it in a quart, maybe for like a soup or something. But for the most part, I don't like it for just my broth. So anyway, that was where I stopped. Got quite a bit out of that. Okay, so this is venting now, and I'm gonna let it go for 10 minutes. Before I put my weight back on. Okay, so that had been venting for 10 minutes, and I went ahead and put the weight on it, and I'm going to let it build up to pressure, which for my altitude is 10 pounds. But if you watched my last video on the canning the chicken, this is a Presto canner. It does not come with a 10-pound weight, it comes with a 15-pound weight. So I know where my sweet spot is on the burner to bring it up gradually. You don't want to bring the temperature or the pressure up too fast. Just like when it's done, you don't want to let the pressure go down too fast. So anyway, I turned it down a little bit. I'm going to let this get up to the 10 pounds, and then I'll put the dial on my sweet spot. And I am going to let this process for, since everything is in pints, it'll be 75 minutes. If it were quarts, it would be 90 minutes. Now the broth really only has to be canned for 20 minutes. It does have to be pressure canned, but it only has to be canned for 20 minutes. But it's not going to hurt anything for it to be canned longer. I just wanted to get a full load in here and get it done as quick as possible. So anyway, I'm going to let the whole thing go for 75 minutes. And then when it's done, I will put my last, 5 pints in there, and I will do those for just the 20 minutes. So anyway, I will bring you back when this has gotten up to 10 pounds of pressure. Okay, so we have just now reached the 10 pound mark. So I'm going to set this on my sweet spot where I know it will maintain at least 10 pounds of pressure. And I'm going to let this go for 75 minutes, and I will see you guys back then. Alright guys, so it is actually the next morning, and I didn't have time to do that last batch with the broth in it last night, so I did those this morning. And I processed them for the 20 minutes, and it has come back down to pressure, and I'm getting ready to open it up. Alright, so these are going to be too hot for me to worry about right now. I'm not going to pick them up and show you. But now I did have one casualty. One of the jars of just the turkey breast with broth, the bottom broke. This right here, around this edge, it broke while it was in the canner. So I did have a casualty. But other than that, everything's sealed. And I wanted to show you how nice this broth. No fat residue on the top. No real particles to speak of. Nice clear broth. And then I had, this was the turkey with that was cooked in the barbecue seasoning. So that's that one. This was the regular turkey in just regular broth. And this one was the turkey that was in more of a gravy. You can tell it's thicker. It's not real thick, but it is thicker for my husband to be able to do meals with. So anyway, if you guys keep in mind, during Thanksgiving when all those turkeys are going on sale, I ended up with, see, I had a 22 or something like that pound turkey. I had a 10 pound turkey. We had sandwiches. There was about 10 people who had turkey sandwiches and kind of ate on it all day on Sunday. So that was used. And then I still ended up with 4, 8, 12, 13 jars of turkey to put on the shelf, and 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 jars of really nice clear broth. So about as easy as it gets, just a little time consuming, but definitely worth it. So if you guys enjoy what you see, you want to see more videos like this, please don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you'll know when new videos come out. But I definitely appreciate you guys for hanging out with me, and I hope I see you on the next one.